Welcome back, you guys. This is your girl Nunya. So I was talking about how I was going to be going a little bit more into death. Coming back with some more anti IVF agendas because y'all, it's really an agenda out here with this IVF. I don't know, like if y'all are really noticing this or not, but back in the day, if you were born up like in the 80s or 90s, and you don't really hear this term anymore, but back in the like 80s, 90s, early 2000s, there was like this term that we would use. It's called test tube babies. And I don't know if y'all remember that. Maybe if you are a little bit younger, you probably never have heard that term, or you probably have. But I used to hear that term all the time. Like people be getting in a little argument and be like, yeah, you ain't no but a test tube, baby. And nowadays, in this new generation, you rarely hear that term, and I think that's for on purpose because see, back in the in the 80s, early 90s, early 2000s, like there was no such thing really as political correctness. Like this political correctness just kind of came in, during the late 2000s with this new generation where everybody is just so damn sensitive and offended by literally a pin dropping. They're mad, they're sensitive, they're crying. They want to have a therapy session. So, this is a very sensitive, offended generation. So, oh, lost my track. Anyway, sorry, y'all. So anyway, back to the test tube baby. There used to be a term for test tube baby. So now you have IVF. They use the IVF, or you never hear that term anymore. Like I have not heard that term in years. So anyway, we used to call things. That's what I was getting to. We used to call things exactly what they were: a test tube baby. Because if you really think about it, that's the proper term for it. It's a test tube baby. The process requires for them to pretty much grow the baby in the little platelet, because that's the process from connecting the so-called sperm and the egg that didn't work in your bedroom, but now all of a sudden they can magically make it work in the clinic. But whatever, I digress. I don't believe that. I believe that if you are not able to naturally conceive a child in the privacy of your own bedroom, that it's not going to magically work in a clinic by them just putting it together in a freaking plate. So my question would be to you all is how does that correlate? What makes you really believe that that's a possibility? You believe that they could make this procedure work by just inserting it and everything come out great. I can't see that happening. I really believe, and it has been proven with these new cases that have come up, that they're using other people's sperm and other people's eggs, and God knows what entity these people or things are. You all just fall for things too easy, and it's really out of desperation. I was watching something the other day. It's called The Unborn. It's actually still on Tubi. If you have access to Tubi, it's free. Go and watch that movie because they have been telling us the agenda of what they plan to do for years. Like, this is nothing new. And when you really think about it, if you grew up in like the 90s or the 80s, IVF was not, it was like a secret thing. Like, it's just coming out into the light about, people coming out that, hey, I was born via IVF, or, I had my kids IVF. Back in the day, You didn't hear none of that. Like that was like almost tabooish to even be talking about IVF. Now it's like almost incentivized. You have companies incentivizing IVF, uh, doing reimbursement, helping ladies, particularly black women with IVF. I wonder why. When have society ever given black people anything for free? When has this society, when has America ever done anything for black men or black women that was a positive thing? Like, just really think about that. And the fact that this is being targeted towards black women, that should let you know right there in itself there's a conspiracy behind it. Because why in the hell would they want to give our black ass anything? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, red flag, red flag, flag on the field, because there's no way. And the fact that now everybody, you have so like, there's like a plethora of women and couples on Instagram that's talking about their IVF journeys, and it's insane to me. Like, we are really in the last days where God has specifically talked about women, menstruous women, which means women that are still having periods will be birthing these monsters. Look up monsters. Monsters is basically a mythical creature, a hybrid being, non human. If you're not able to have a child in your bedroom with your partner, if you do it any other way, it is not of the Most High God. It is not a creation by God. And unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but somebody has to tell it. They would not be qualified for salvation, because only humans can qualify for heavenly salvation, okay? And this has been an agenda since the Garden of Eden, y'all. If you go back to Genesis 6, it's talking about the consequences that God gave to Adam and Eve when they so-called bit the apple, or as we know it today, had sex in the garden. God made it very clear, Eve, your Adam seed and the serpent seed is going to have, enmity. In other words, friction. In other words, that means that at the time she wasn't aware, but she had two separate seeds. She had a seed of Satan and a seed of Adam in her womb. And if you all have an understanding about the difference between celestial and terrestrial beings, if you bring those two beings together, what does it make? A hybrid. So this is what the Bible is all about. This is the mystery, and this is the reason why a lot of people have so much, difficulty understanding the Bible, because they don't understand that it's talking about bloodlines and hybrids. And Satan, and well, technically our forefathers, being sinful enough to where it has opened the door for for beings that are not made by God to come here. Same thing with the dinosaurs. How do we think that the dinosaurs got here? The dinosaurs are a a it is the result of mixing and matching the DNA of lizards and birds, sort of like what they're doing with CRISPR. Just like Jesus said in Noah, he was talking about they will be doing these same things. When you start seeing them doing a repeat of what they were doing in the days of Noah, why do y'all think Noah was building that big ass boat? He was trying to get the hell out of there. There were mythical creatures out there. These people that your pastor would tell you Noah was preaching 40 days and 40 nights. Noah wasn't preaching to them people. Okay, let's get that straight off the rip. Noah was not preaching to them people. He was building what he needed to build because he knew that there was going to be a flood to flood out that bloodline because those were mixed beings. That's why he was only directed to take two of each species because the rest of the bloodline during that time of Noah had been tainted. And that was another reason. The dinosaurs were another reason because they're going to be coming back again, just like Jesus said, as in the day of Noah, so shall it be again in the end time, which means you're going to have these dinosaurs coming back, popping up in your backyard like that. They scrubbed the internet with that lady that had that dinosaur that popped up in her backyard in Florida during COVID.
Yes, you read that title correctly. A woman from Palm Beach, Florida has made a shocking new claim that she spotted a baby dinosaur on her security.
Y'all, this hybrid being agenda has been a thing since the beginning. This is nothing new. It's just we have Satan has a new generation to work his same plan on. But IVF is the biggest agenda in Revelation. When we're talking about the beast system, IVF is part of the beast system because women are willingly. See, Satan has found a way for women to willingly bring his creatures on God's earth that will thankfully be destroyed and renewed again. But for the time being, we as women, as human women, are willingly creating these beings. And pretty soon there's an agenda to eradicate you out of the equation to where they won't even need you anymore. Because Satan has now found a way to make machine incubators. So now they're not going to even need the human woman's womb to reproduce their creatures. Now they have machines that are going to be doing that job for the woman because at the end of the day, Satan hates humans. Okay? And when y'all get so desperate, when you're so desperate that you're willing to do the unnatural, you end up with the Adam and Eve situation. And Adam and Eve did not understand why they had to be banished from the garden because if they had been banished from the garden, she would have birthed that hybrid seed into a heavenly realm. So that's why they had to get the hell out of there because if not, we don't know what would have went down. So y'all, there is an agenda out here for your womb. And it's been an agenda to use your womb to birth these hybrid creatures. These creatures that you are birthing are probably not, I can guarantee you that there is some type of abnormality with their DNA that does not qualify them 100% to be human. I can guarantee it. And this is why you don't really hear a lot about bloodlines. They don't, you go to the doctor, they don't really talk to you about bloodlines. And they don't really, offer you to know what your blood type is. You probably have to fight them teeth and nail to get that information. You know why? Because it's been a conspiracy out here to taint the bloodlines. And not only to taint the bloodlines of humans, Satan doesn't just stop there. He has to taint the bloodline of animals too. Because it's not enough to, taint the humans that God created. He wants to taint everything that God created. Everything that is a reminder of the Most High, his goal is to pervert that. And I hope that you all understand that because you all are going to have mark my words, there's going to be an extremely heavy price for those that participate in this IVF. And I truly believe that people that get IVF, and this is for educational purposes only, I really believe that they ultimately end up with grave health issues that end up probably taking them up out of here. Because what you're doing is extremely unnatural and extremely offensive to a creator. I don't think y'all understand that. If you think about this, if you were a God that created the heavens, the earth, and the people in it, the animals in it, and you look down and your creatures, instead of doing things the natural way, they say, oh, well, I'm going to go over here to another creation that was created by you and have them put all types of shit in my body and and give me and help me produce a totally way out of the ordinary, out of the way that I have commanded and intended. You would be mad as hell. So, like I say, don't think nothing is gonna come out of that, because that is, to me, that's an abomination. I would look at that as an abomination, because you're literally corrupting the whole bloodline by doing that. Like that's extremely offensive. That's just my personal opinion. But I know for sure, I have a strong feeling, not for sure, but I have a very strong feeling, could be wrong, I don't think I am, but I have a strong feeling that there's going to be grave repercussions for people that choose to go that route. So if you choose to go that route, um, I, I don't know. I would highly discourage it. I would encourage you to adopt a kid, adopt a baby. Um, pray about it. Try praying. Maybe, God wants you to adopt somebody else instead of, trying to go through the obvious process. There are a lot of kids in the foster system that need parents. I don't, and I know y'all, everybody wants their own, baby. They want their own start, to have their own baby, to raise them from a newborn, whatever, to raise them how they want to. I get it. But there are small newborn babies in the foster system too. That's an option. So it's just like getting a freaking pet. And I hate to make that comparison, but it is. It's like getting a pet, going to a breeder, a fertility clinic, instead of going to a shelter. When you know that there's dogs and cats that are going to be euthanized that need a good home. Like sometimes, you have to look at options that are conducive to the community, that helps the community. Sometimes it's not always about you. And I think that's where we kind of miss the mark sometimes, and we end up in these sticky situations where our salvation is at stake because we want to do whatever makes us happy, and that's not biblical. There's nothing in the Bible that just say, "Oh, do whatever makes you happy. You're gonna be happy right on in hell," and that's for me too. Like we cannot allow our emotions to dictate to these type of decisions like that. Like this is very serious. It's not just a situation where you just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I can't have kids. So I want to, I want to do it this way." Like, no, that's completely out of line. Especially, and this is really for people that say that they follow Christ, because I'm seeing still people that claim that they believe in God, and they're talking about, oh, this is a God bless you. This is America. God is not blessing you with going to an IVF clinic. Why would He do that? Why would an all creating God send you to a fertility clinic? Like, really think about that. Like, that's like an oxymoron. That's just like me, that's just like my child coming to me asking me for $10. I got $1 million. but I send them to the welfare office to get a $10 check instead of giving them the $10. That don't make no damn sense. I don't care how you put it. It makes no sense for a God that can provide, that can do miracles, to send you to nobody's a atheist, because most of them don't believe in God. Most scientists don't believe in God. That's why they are a scientist. Not all of them, but most scientists, they don't believe in God. That's why they went into that career. So why in the hell, and you need to ask yourself this, why in the hell would my God send me somewhere when I'm asking him directly? He wouldn't do that unless he's sending you somewhere where his work is uplifted. He's not uplifted in a fertility clinic. You know why? Because he's not there. He's not operating in a fertility clinic. He operates in your bedroom where it's meant in your purpose for you to have children. And if you're not doing it and it's happening in your bedroom, that means that it's either not for you, or God wants you to do something else. Or maybe you just need to pray a few things off your bloodline to open up whatever doors that has prevented you from being fertile. And I think the problem is we don't want to do the spiritual work. We just rather go to the fertility clinic and get shot up with all these unknown drugs, because why in the hell y'all got to take so many shots? Why? Why do y'all have to take with them big ass needles? Why? Please explain to me how taking all these shots is supposed to help somebody produce a child. Is it for egg extraction? Probably. Not saying that I did all my research, but I know from a spiritual standpoint that this is an agenda to bring in as many antichrists, because it's not of God. And ultimately, I know for sure, whatever the medications are, that they have a ton shitload of side effects. And you're going to have a ton shitload of problems. If not now, it's going to be later on, because it's not natural. The process is not natural. The medications to do the process is not natural. And I'm going to be going a little bit more into detail on my next one about these incubator machines that they have been secretly creating and will be introducing to a city near you very soon, I'm sure. Because at this point, they don't need women. And that's what y'all don't understand. Y'all have been used for a short period of time for a specific agenda, and pretty soon you're going to be eradicated and disposable, just like everything else and everything else Satan uses a human for. So that's my spiel for today. Yeah, I'm out.